Gather round, friends, new and old, and welcome to the Powwow Podcast. My name is David Hoffman. I am your host.
And I am Philip Amarine, your other host.
Well, welcome to this wonderful episode that we have planned today, doing something fresh and new. But first, Philip, how was your week?
My week was great. It entailed candles. It entailed poker. Actually, my best friend of the podcast, David Sampson, had his birthday this past weekend. And so it was kind of like an entire celebration of one David Sampson all weekend long. Lots of chocolate cake, of course, as you might have guessed. Pepperoni pizza abound. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. How about you? How was your week?
My week was fantastic as well. Actually, we had our show weekend for the play that I was the associate director for. I had just a wonderful time over the last month directing the students at school in the high school play. Honestly, such a rewarding experience. I underestimated just how good it would feel to see them go on stage and kill it. They killed it. It was amazing. The way that, like, in typical high school theater fashion, a week ago, the show was in pieces. It was in a shambles. There was a lot to be done in that week, and I worked way overtime. As much as energy as the kids had to the students, I should call them students. They're getting up to their later teenage years, some of them. So the students had as much energy as they had to really put the extra hours in and make sure the show was ready by the time opening night came. I pushed them and they were ready and willing, and the commitment that they showed was amazing. The creative process really sort of culminated in this awesome final few days where we worked really hard, and we had a COVID scare. One of our actors got COVID 2 days before opening night, and we were like, well, I guess we got to rework the entire show to fit around that. Some people had to learn new lines. Like, it was just insane. But then opening night went tremendously well. It was an amazing performance. I'm so proud of them. And there's a good chance that, like, they've discovered the podcast. They've discovered Powwow, and they've been stalking my Instagram, and they've been watching my acting reel, which is just so...
Oh, that's like, so invasive.
I know, it just feels so wrong. I'm like, you're not a casting director. Stay away from my acting reel. Yeah, which is like kind of like awkward because I don't even like my acting reel that much, but it is what it is. But, anyway, so there's a good chance that they're listening to... Well, some of them might be listening to this episode. So shout out to them. They killed it over the weekend. I'm so proud of them. And it's one of those things, like when you were in high school shows or when you're in any show, when it's over, you miss it. And I do. Yeah. I not one of the students, one of the performers, I miss it. I already I was like, oh, it's over.
It's a reminder of simpler times.
So proud of what they did, and awesome show. Like, got so many laughs that, like, it was just, I can't even describe it. It was a really awesome feeling.
Proud papa moment right there.
Yeah. There you go.
One more order of congrats.
They're calling me the boss man now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, one last order of congratulations before we move on. Congratulations to aforementioned David Sampson. He released his short film at a local film festival in Phoenix here. He submitted elsewhere. More than meets the eye. I'm sure there will be streaming platforms and everything to go around, but just congratulations to you, David. And now, let's get to another film that we both have seen.
It boggles the mind that we've been going. This is episode 60 of Powwow Podcast, and this is the first time we are attempting a film review on the podcast as our main topic. And I wanted last year after the Oscars to do the same thing. But then Nomadland won, and I was like... there was not a single cell in my body wanted to do a review of Nomadland.
You refused.
I didn't dislike Nomadland, but I did not want to review it. But this year, CODA won Best Picture.
It did.
And CODA is a movie that I do want to review. I do want to talk about. I do want to spend a not too long of an episode, hopefully, but spend an episode talking about CODA because it really does deserve to be talked about. All that other crap that happened at the Oscars can live in the past. Let's move on. Let's talk about what really matters. A beautiful film that was recognized at the Oscars for what it achieved. And yeah, let's talk about it.
And of course, it should be mentioned right now that it's almost impossible to talk about this film without spoiling something or some aspect of it. So, if you have not seen CODA and do not wish for it to be spoiled for you, please go to this timestamp. I will put it right now. Go to this part of the podcast, and we will get to our mini seg for you. 26 minutes and 50 seconds. All right. If you stuck around, you're welcome to all the spoilers.
Right. Spoilers are coming now.
Yes. So let's just begin with, let's go with the cast and crew here, David. So Amelia Jones plays Ruby Rossi. Of course, we're talking about the entire Rossi family here. Marley Matlin plays Jackie Rossi. Troy Kotzer plays Frank Rossi. Daniel Durant plays
the
Leo.
Parents.
Yes, the
Jackie
parents.
and Frank are the parents. Yeah.
Yes. Daniel Durant plays Leo Rossi. And I'm trying to see who else is important. Oh, Eugenio Derbez plays Bernardo. I cannot roll my R's. Can you roll it for
Bernardo.
me? Villalobos.
Villalobos or something like that. Yeah.
Something. And then finally, our last one, we'll just for purposes of keeping integrity here, Ferdia Walsh-Pilo plays Miles, the love interest.
I think it's worth saying that Amy Forsyth also plays Gertie. She's an okay-ish enough level of character to mention at least.
Okay.
The rest of them are fairly small roles, but okay. I thought she had a decent enough role in the film to warrant being mentioned.
So, CODA. The reason why it's named CODA? Children of Deaf Adults. That is what it stands for. And of course, thus it means that it is a story concerning, revolving, and surrounds itself about a deaf family, save one. Her name's Ruby. She is the only person in her family of 4 that can hear. As such, there are expectations placed upon her, and she is set to live her own life as she is a senior in high school, set out to live her life, but she is struggling with the expectations that is placed upon her and her family as the only person who can both communicate with them in sign language as well as speak and hear and everything else that comes along with that. All right. Let's go with the story. David, thoughts on the story itself?
So you can kind of imagine where this movie started, how it came to be. Someone said it, or someone said in a writer's pitch meeting, or whatever, or one friend who wanted to. I don't know how the screenplay came to be, how many writers were behind it, but someone said, "What if the only hearing child in a deaf family who discovered that she really wanted to be a singer? How would that dichotomy play out?" And it's an intriguing concept. You have conflict right off the bat, and the story explores that in a way that sort of embraces some of the cliches of heartwarming films, but also is telling what feels like a very fresh story in contexts that most viewers have not explored yet. And so I think that the story is rich, supported by wonderful characters, interesting characters, and it's it's familiar without being your next door neighbor, right? Most of us are not deaf. Most of us are not fish. Well, you're certain, like if you're listening to this podcast, you're not deaf, and most of us are not fishermen. Most of us are not singers. Most of us have never aspired to or never lived in Massachusetts, but it still feels familiar while exploring these worlds that some of us just don't know. So I think the story is it's a story that I'm so glad I've gotten to experience.
Yeah, so it's heartwarming. We've seen this before. It's a family film. Family comes together, even though there's an internal struggle for whatever reason. It doesn't feel like anything new, except for the fact that it's in a package that is all by itself new. We've never really seen a film tackle the difficulty of the deaf and hard of hearing. To this degree.
Not in this context, at least. It's more about...
It's a focal point.
It's more about the CODA that's unique now. We've seen movies about like deaf people, for example. Last year we got Sound of Metal, but this, like the CODA reality is what feels the most fresh here.
Yes, and
just a clarification.
Yes, of course, and like you said, it falls into some tropes here and there. But quite honestly, I think where this
you don't fault it for that.
You cannot fault it for that. Had it been a sadder film, I think it would have taken away from the film at some point. It depends on how sad it went, how depressing it traveled to that deep, dark corner. But I think where it was, it touched upon that darkness, it touched upon that sadness, and that was really all it needed to do. It dipped its toe in that emotional well, And that was it, because it needed a happy, uplifting end, happy, uplifting beats throughout. I believe that it needed it. And I'm glad that it ended in such a happy way that it did. Overall, as a film, I don't know if the story itself was what really sold me on this film being a Best Picture nominee, Best Picture winner, obviously. But we'll get into that later on, of course. I don't think it's the strongest aspect of the film. I think there are other
No, it's
ways
not.
that it is, but it's a fine one. It gives a lot of good dialogue, I think, which obviously could be difficult with where it is. And I think it brings up a lot of interesting points. Like for instance, an interesting conflict that I think it organically comes up with that I think thought was brilliant was whenever the family sits down for dinner in the initial first scene that we see them coming down to dinner as a table, she's listening to music. Ruby is, and the family gets angry at her. The mother specifically, who's kind of serves as a source of consternation throughout the film, having been disqualified from society due to her disability. And so she sees her listening to music, Ruby, and she says, "Get that out. There's no listening to music while at dinner time." And she says, "Hey, my brother is doing Tinder. Why at the dinner table? Why is that okay, but me listening to music is not?" And she says, "It's because we can do Tinder as a family." And then he begins to swipe right, swipe left, as we all are somewhat familiar with Tinder and the lingo of what that is, as they all collectively are like, "Oh, is this girl for him? Is this girl not for him?" And they all can it's a visual medium, so therefore they can all join as a family, as opposed to the music that completely isolates the rest of the family from Ruby. That's the only way she can go there. The rest of the family cannot. And I thought that that's just a lone example of where the film takes us on something that may or may not have come to the mind when thinking of like, what is a child of a deaf adult? What is a struggle that may arise from that? And so that's where I think it shines the brightest. And maybe some of like the more cliche elements of romance per se is where it kind of falters a little bit. Let's get to the acting. Something very important here, David. The acting.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know how either one of us could just not acknowledge that a powerful performance, obviously awarded by the Oscar, goes to Troy Kotsur. He, of course, won Best Supporting Actor this year at the Academy. But listen, the rest of the cast, I think, does a tremendous job. I think that Amelia...
Yeah, it's carried well by the acting performances.
Of course, Amelia as Ruby does a tremendous job, having to go in both directions. I think Marlee Matlin shines once again, as she has in a very storied career of her own. Right. And it's good to see Daniel Duran as an up and newcomer. For at least from where I've seen him. And
I've never seen him before, but yeah, he was another like an underappreciated strong point of the film was Daniel Duran's performance.
And I would say a strong positive, almost the comic relief, really, in a lot of aspects, but also holds a lot of emotional grounding, was Eugenio Derbez as the choir teacher, as the choral voice teacher. I think the purpose that he serves, I think it's perfect for him and having that, he really embodied the whole mantra of like, what isolates one from society isn't always just a handicap that is visible. One can be being isolated because you have an accent, something as simple as that. And it's not to make light of either plight. It's just to say that you think that you're the only person, as a person who has deaf adults, that can possibly have had it rough. Well, I too have had it rough, but we persevere. There's things like that. Where did the acting, where did you find light in the acting, or what did you have to say?
You know, it's really the moments where we don't get any dialogue because there's so many moments in this film where it's following one of these deaf characters played by deaf actors as well, who are in these scenarios where they can't connect with hearing individuals. And so the real acting, like the some of them, I'll just say some of the most amazing acting moments come from those moments where you just have to see this person, this character living in this space where they just don't belong. And I felt so much empathy for these characters and so inspiring that in an audience member. I mean, that's job done. Like check that box. And like, I mean, if you can really check boxes when you're talking about acting, they got a real emotional reaction out of me personally in those moments. But for me, I mean, like, I can't help but come back to, like, with that, what I just talked about. I'm thinking about Daniel Durant sitting in this bar surrounded by these other fishermen who are all talking and laughing, and he just wants to be there, but he can't. He can't quite be present with them because he can't. They don't understand him, and he doesn't understand them. But it's hard not to keep coming back to Troy Kotsur because it's almost indescribable. How he just the range with which he plays this character from the funniest moments of the film.
Yes.
His dynamism, the way he is when he signs, it's so captivating to watch. And then in the really beautiful scene where he asks Ruby to sing for him, just the pain and the love and the support, the desperation to want to be a part of your daughter's dream, and that sort of that disconnect, but that desperate reaching hand. Like, it was the story told in his eyes was marvelous. So Troy Kotsur, like, it's hard not to keep coming back, because I don't think Marlee Matlin, like, I think she performed brilliantly. I couldn't fault her for anything, and I thought she had some wonderful moments, but Troy Kotsur's character just had far more levels to explore, and he did that beautifully.
I think that we're both in agreement that his Oscar moment was when he asked her to sing. That's every film, every performance really has that. Again, if we're going to look at like Will Smith's Oscar moment, it was when he went back and picked up the balls and was getting beat up by everybody. There's just always that Oscar moment where in any film where you can say, that's where they won the Oscar. That's where they kind of showed the powerhouse, the culmination of their acting prowess in a film. And for Troy, it was when he asked his daughter to sing.
Before we move on from acting and start talking about some of the context of the film, I do want to say that this is where the film wins for me, because I made it very clear when we did our Oscar preview, this was not my favorite movie of the year. Like, I mean, I loved it. Like, I really enjoyed watching it. It was a heartwarming story, and it made me feel good. And I thought that, you know, it was important groups of people being represented in a big film, or a film that eventually became big. Didn't start out very big. But what carries this film really is the acting performances. This is where the film has its strength, because the story is not terribly groundbreaking. Yes, it's telling a story about CODA community and you know, things that we haven't necessarily seen before, but it's the acting is the only thing that really stands out. I have no doubt the director was, as in Troy Kotsur's speech, like he said, that the director really was one of the best communicators and brought these two worlds together. And his speech is beautiful. It moved me to tears when I heard it.
Troy Kotsur's?
Troy Kotsur's acceptance speech at the Oscars.
Yes.
That was the highlight of the night for me. Like, it was just the most wonderful moment, and I just was delighted when he won. But, you know, the directing, I'm sure, was great on set. But, you know, from an audience perspective, I'm not seeing groundbreaking directing. The cinematography wasn't that brilliant. The score was not entirely original, at least, but nothing special. One thing that bothered me throughout was that Bernardo, Mr. V, says that she's got no control of her voice at the beginning of the film. But I'm not an expert on singing, but I think she had pretty good control of her voice. Like, her voice sounded very, very nicely controlled even at the beginning of the film. So I don't know what that was all about. That was kind of like, that kind of took me out of it. That was one thing that really bothered me. But that was controversy for me. Let's move on to the general controversy of this film.
Yes, there's a general controversy that came with this film, at least from the deaf community, which, in all honesty, you and me are not a part of. So we take that with a grain of salt when discussing this. That CODA could and has come across to some as inspiration porn, where it's just inspiration for the sake of inspiration and serves the purpose of inspiring everybody outside of the community while using the community that it's concerning about. And again, take whatever comment I have to say with the grain of salt, that I am obviously not a part of that community and I'm an outsider. But what I know is that for me and my purposes, it showed me another side of the community and highlighted struggles for them that I didn't even know or was aware of, that I had not put time to think about even, or how a person could be affected with an inner struggle. Because for me, obviously through this podcast, communication is a huge part of my lifestyle. Even in my job, I work at a radio station. So without communication, a lot of my livelihood and my life would be very difficult to go through. So I can certainly empathize how a lack of communication, a lack of an ability to have that with another human being would be so hard. So for that purpose alone, this movie to me is more than just inspiration of just something so benign as, oh, what a great story. It's something akin to like the Green Book of Another Year, where that's just the purpose is so basic. Here, I thought it stood for more. I can certainly see how others drew that conclusion. I get it. Then those notes
Well, I mean,
are there.
I frankly think that Green Book stood for quite a very strong message, personally. But that's not what we're talking about.
Yes, it's different movie, different controversy all together on that one.
Sure,
But
no, I mean, I'm also not a member of the deaf community, so like I feel like in this day and age, you kind of always have to tag this with like I know I'm not a member of the community, but I still hold this opinion, and I'm going to share it. I'm seeing what Hollywood has been doing over the last few years, and that is a movement to really connect a little bit more. I mean, it's hard to connect entirely, but to connect a little bit more with members of not just the deaf community, especially the deaf community, but also other members of the disabled community. Now, when I was at AMDA, I already started to I started to meet people who at least knew some American Sign Language, and got me wanting to learn a little bit. And then when I saw Sound of Metal last year, I really wanted to learn American Sign Language. And now this has really only further invigorated my desire. Like, if there were easily accessible classes in my community here, I would be taking them. And as soon as I do have classes that are easily accessible that I can take for ASL, I will, because it's something I've wanted to learn for a long time. And so I credit these films that connect our worlds and have inspired people. And I'm not saying that everyone should learn ASL. It's obviously a big commitment to learn a language. It is like learning any other language.
yes.
According to Google, at least, I learned how easy is it to learn ASL, and it's like learning a language, right? That's what it is. So obviously, it's not something that everyone should be expected to do. It's not easy, but it's something that I want to do. And I'm sure a lot of people like me who watch these movies and want to reach out to that community. And so I think that as much as it may be inspiration porn, or it may not really go very in depth into what it's like to be deaf, which how could I know? But I thought Sound of Metal and CODA really do touch on that quite nicely. I think there's a lot of value in these films and the way that they have inspired people to connect more.
So I suppose that's your lasting impression here, David, is that it inspires you in a way that feels genuine, to actually a call to action. And
it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me that it won,
No,
because I
not
thought
at all.
there's a lot of value in it, and it was a touching story and a beautiful film.
Out of the films listed that were nominated, I thought that it was the worthiest of the contenders. That was my personal favorite. I will, again, step aside. I didn't see them all. I still have yet to see them all. My goal is to see them all, and then one day I can have a truer opinion.
A valid opinion.
A valid opinion, yes, absolutely.
Which ones are you missing still? Licorice Pizza, Drive My Car.
Yes, Licorice Pizza, Drive My Car, and
that's it. I think Belfast. Did you watch Belfast?
I didn't see Belfast either. That was
okay. So that's the last one. Those are the three then. I mean, look, it was probably the one I enjoyed watching the most. Well, with the exception of Don't Look Up, because I loved watching Don't Look. I'm a big comedy guy. Don't Look Up made me laugh a lot. CODA and Don't Look Up are probably tied for my favorite movies that I enjoyed watching the most. But the best film of the Best Picture nominees was Drive My Car. It was a 3-hour Japanese film. Don't blame you for not wanting to sit for 3 hours and watch a Japanese film, but it was a beautiful film, and that one probably should have won, really. If you're really honest with, from a filmmaking perspective, it was the most profound, the most touching. But we're not talking about that, because it's about CODA. I had no issues with it winning. It gave me a lot of joy, and like I said, it's a special one.
And I think it will age gracefully. It won't be a Shakespeare in Love. It won't be a Green Book.
It won't.
And it will be a worthy, maybe upper mid list Oscar winner.
Again, I really liked Green Book, but anyway, I don't. I'm not so sure. I think this will stand below a lot of the movies that surround it in terms of quality of filmmaking. Compare it to Parasite or to what are some of the other really tremendous films that have won Best Picture in the last few years. Even Shape of Water, like those were films that really were special in far more ways. You know, they had the acting,
exploratory.
They had the profoundness. They had the directing. They had the cinematography. Even like all these things came together to make these Best Pictures. CODA in certain areas it's a little unimpressive, but there are areas where it just sort of those areas make the film special. But I don't think it'll stand nobly above any of the counterparts from the past several years.
I think it'll age better than Nomadland, Green Book. It's hard whenever we get to like Birdman, Spotlight. I think it'll age better than Spotlight. I think Spotlight, as great as it was more of a timely film, and Argo is an odd one because that was pretty much like the only thing it was nominated for. Argo. So there we go. I think CODA will age rather gracefully. I'm glad to have seen it. I'm glad it won this year's all-time Best Picture. You should certainly watch it. If for some reason you didn't care about spoilers, you listened all the way through here, please, please, please go watch the film. There's no way, I think we can both safely agree on this and say this. I don't think there's anybody who saw the film who didn't enjoy it. Fun for the whole family.
This episode of Powwow Podcast is sponsored by Sides.
Meet Sides, SIDES, an app that helps you take the law into your own hands.
Turn ordinary agreements into binding contracts in seconds. Then if a dispute arises, Sides will step in to resolve it for you.
Wait, Phil, that was supposed to be my line.
What did we agree to in the contract?
I don't know. I guess we can use Sides to settle this dispute, because each dispute costs a small one-time fee.
And if you win, which I will, it's all awarded back to you.
Sign up now and get 16% off for a limited time only.
Would you, our mini segment of the week. Of course, we ask each other the immortal question, would you? David, I'll go first.
Okay.
Would you rather take $1 million right now? I feel like we never have positive ones, so I'm doing a positive one today. Would you rather take $1 million right now, David, or $37 million in 22 years from now? So for the audience at home, how old would you be in 22 years?
Old.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's pretty much a no-brainer. I would take the million now. You don't know what's going to happen to the dollar in 20 years or 20 whatever years. You don't know, like, if $37 million is going to be worth what it's going to be worth then. And you don't know if you're going to be alive then. You don't know.
That's where I was going to go. I was interested
it's a no-brainer.
That you went to the
I'd take the million now.
First.
Well, but yeah. I mean, look, I'm assuming I'll be alive in 22 years.
Hoping, not going to
hope so. But yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. There's a lot you can do with $1 million right now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Is there any amount, if we get to like, I don't know.
No, pretty 70, much no.
No?
Nope.
Okay, interesting.
Nope, because again, like there's too many unknowns. If it was 5 years from now, then I might be tempted to take the more money. But 22 years, 22, right? That's what you said?
22?
Yeah, hell no.
All right.
Phil, if you met someone with whom you had the ultimate physical chemistry, but the two of you did not share a language, would you learn a new language in order to communicate with that person?
I don't suppose.
Like, let me just emphasize just how ultimately you connect with this person.
Yeah, we hold hands really well.
Oh, you're holding hands, all right.
I don't suppose you're going to give me an example of the language, because it's one thing if it's French.
Well, I was inspired by CODA and American Sign Language, which is obviously the sign language in America. But sign language, let's just say, if you were to meet someone who you could barely communicate with, but like there's so much chemistry there, and the physical chemistry is definitely there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. and you want to give it a chance, but you can't communicate. Would you go through the trouble of learning a language, maybe taking classes or downloading freaking Duolingo?
Is there Duolingo for ASL?
No, there's not,
Okay.
unfortunately. And I've tried looking for apps. There really isn't any, unfortunately. You really need to immerse yourself in that community in order to learn it. But
Right.
I'm not. This is not about sign language. This is any language. Like
Any language.
You speak different languages.
Would I? Yes. Yes. The answer is yes. I would hope it would be yes. If it's that good and I find somehow a connection there, I would be trying my best to explore just how far does that go. It would be really hard for me though, because I am a person who's all about communication. We mentioned that earlier in the podcast,
Right.
and maybe anybody who skipped this part doesn't know this, but I am a huge communicator in life, career, relationships. You and me, David, communicate all the time about multitude of things, really. But communication is so paramount to me that it would be necessary. So that would be hard to have a kink in the middle of communicating with somebody right off the bat.
You don't want a kinky?
No kinky in communicating. But I would say yes. I would do my best to learn a new language. Goodness gracious me, if it's Spanish, that'll be like the 7th time I've tried. It just doesn't stick in
You'd
there.
be surprised when you really immerse yourself. Like if you were forced into conversing with someone for a while, like you both be picking up stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah,
once you're in that. Yeah, it doesn't help that you're in your late 20s now, so that doesn't help you learn languages very quickly. But
I'm old, man. All right, let's move along. An interesting once more on this one that I somehow convinced you to go along with.
It's not really that interesting. It's really not interesting, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Now, hold on, my friend. I think we can make this interesting. Of course, the once more conversation, we are talking about CODA for the main topic. So naturally, what are we going to talk about for once more? That's right. Would we ever be fishermen? Of course, CODA talks about a family.
How do we create a discussion topic which is just a yes or no question?
Because there is a discussion topic here. Because I, for one, I'll start out here. I, for one, am a person who is not an outdoor person, which is hilarious when it's compared to the fact that we do a podcast that is entirely themed about the outdoors. We talk about camping. I don't like camping. We talk about fishing, and I don't like fishing yet. And still, we have a podcast completely centered around outdoor events. But speaking for myself, the reason why I would say, would I ever be a fisherman? In the way that it was shown in CODA, where they're going out in the middle of the sea. Follow me here, Hoffman. You've seen A Perfect Storm. I'm a little intrigued to, like, not a day, not for like a year, or excuse me, not for like a year, not for like half a year. But I would be very interested to see what the fisherman lifestyle is like whenever you're on like one of those industrial boats. You got nets, you got all that stuff. When they were like going around and like cleaning out the fish guts, sorting them out, I was kind of interested. I there's that whole idea of like, oh, is this an acceptable fish? Is this fish edible? Does it, what's it doing? I would potentially try being a fisherman. And I think that it's just like being out there in the waves. I think that there's that whole connecting with nature thing. I don't know. Would you ever be a fisherman, David?
Look, I didn't take this to mean like fishing, like lake fishing. Like camping where you go fishing in the river or the lake. Like that's a different thing entirely.
Oh,
I took this as deep sea fishing. Have you ever been deep sea fishing, Phil?
I have not, actually.
Okay, so I've been deep sea fishing once. I told this story a couple weeks ago. And I was yakking over the side of the boat most of the morning and then part of the afternoon. And it was wholly unpleasant. There were pretty rough seas that day, but even so, it was tough. Like there was some appeal. And obviously you get used, like I'm not someone with motion sickness, but this was really bad. But even so, you would get used to that kind of motion sickness. Like after a little while, you get your sea legs and your stomach gets used to all that motion and you stop getting seasick. But even so, like I remember I ended up getting an infection on my, like I had this slight cut on my ankle or something. It ended up getting infected when we were flying back from South Africa via Dubai. Like on the flight from South Africa to Dubai, we had a connecting flight then to Amsterdam, in Dubai, I was like on that flight, my foot I started getting a fever. My foot like swelled up to like 3 times the size of what it was supposed to be. It was just, and it was just an infection that I got while I was on the boat. Anyway, it's not something I would do. No. So like it's not, I enjoyed it for a day as much as I could, given that I was seasick the whole day. But would I want to do it on a day-to-day basis? Would I even want to do it 2 days in a row? Heck no. No, thank you. I love seafood, but someone else can go out and catch it. Thank you.
All right. Well, I guess we're different. I have yet to have a horrific experience out in the middle of the sea. I think that that's so intriguing to put your life in the hands of an element that is not yours out there. I would be willing to try it.
I mean, I'm a daredevil, but deep sea fishing was just
Okay.
Like I would go cage diving with sharks because I've never done that before, and that seems exciting, you know. Oh man, I would do that. I would go cage diving with sharks for sure, but I've got no desire to. I've done deep sea fishing. I would do it again, but more than a day, no.
Cage with the shark? No. Sharks have too much diarrhea for me to be in there. I saw a video recently. I saw a video recently where a shark exposed itself around, and the fish just
exposed itself.
Yeah, it just
released. Another Phil vocabulary word.
Yeah, of course, you're welcome.
Espoused itself.
Yes, and it released its inner bowels, and all the fish came around and just nibbled it. It was disgusting. Never doing it. And for the game, we are joined by my friend, my compadre, my companion, Nick Davies. Nick, welcome back to the show, to the powwow, to the campgrounds, really.
Absolutely. Hello again. It's good to be back, and this time on glorious 4K.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, anybody listening to the podcast, you won't see, but whenever you see these promo videos, as inevitably you will see Nick Davies. I don't know why I went proper on you. You'll see him in his full glory. Nicholas Davies the third. You are a second though, aren't you?
No, I am the only now.
He's working on the second, but that being at some point in the future. Anyways, the only thing I want to start out with here that's very important, besides the fact that I believe I've neglected to ever bring up our interaction here, Nick. We grew up together in the theater community. You've gone on to do your own music career, and we'll talk about and plug you at the end of here. You've got a ton of music stuff to go on. I think we plugged a couple of your videos last time, but not you as a person. You got a wonderful show, but we'll plug you at the end. The only thing I want to bring up right now at this moment is if you could stand up and show people your Jeff Goldblum shirt, because that is going to be necessary for them to not see. I want to describe this. He has a Jeff Goldblum shirt that is akin to a Jurassic Park emblem, and it just says Jeff Goldblum in front of a Tyrannosaurus Rex symbol there. Nick?
Oh, that's Jeff Goldblum.
No. It's the Jurassic Park logo, but instead of Jurassic Park, it says Jeff Goldblum, and instead of a T-Rex, it's Jeff Goldblum lying down very seductively.
I feel seduced,
looking deeply into your eyes. Yeah, it's a terrific shirt,
and that's wonderful. That's all you need to know about my personality. Now you know everything about me.
Now we know everything about me, but let's get to know just a smidgen more. Since Nick, you are my guest. David, you get 2 questions for Nick. I get 1. Why don't you start us off, Nick? David.
Nick, I want to know, what was your dream career when you were growing up?
I had a couple. I mean, I had 3, and one of them doesn't make any sense at all. One of them was being in Billy Joel's band, being the keyboard player behind Billy Joel, going on tour with him.
Had you already started playing the keyboard, or was this just a total pipe dream?
No, I was a musician pretty much ever since I popped out. I've always loved music, and I was learning piano at like probably 3 or 4 years old. But I saw Billy Joel live for the first time in 2006. And before that, I'd already wanted to tour with him. But after I saw him live, that was it. That was just my ultimate dream. Another one was an actor. I've always loved movies. You know, now that I've grown up, like if I were to get into the film industry, I think like more on either the film scoring or the directorial roles. So I'm not sitting in a and a thing for hours waiting for my time to go in and start. You know,
that's
that's
just
what I've heard from a lot of
unbearable.
people.
Yes.
Yeah, how do they do it? And then, strangely, when I was really young, I really wanted to be a dentist.
I did too. I swear to God, I did too.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what it was about me just really wanting to put my fingers in people's mouths, but I did. And
Why is this so familiar to me? Did I already ask you this question? The dentist, that like something about, or was it you, Phil, who said the exact same thing when I asked you that question? Because it's really weird to me.
Yeah, I think you and me, David, have discussed this, and I know I've probably told you that I wanted to be a dentist. There's something calming. I don't know about you, Nick. Yeah, there's something calming about being in the dentist chair that I was drawn to it. I wanted to be a dentist. I sympathize with that, Nick.
Well, I think it's the opposite for me, where
you were terrified.
Like
there's nothing calming about it. He likes the torturous nature of it. He wants to put people through pain and
through hell
and trauma.
The only way for me to avoid being in the chair is if I'm the one performing on the person in the chair, you know?
Yeah.
Reverse roles. I guess that was it. I was a very sadistic child.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Clearly. All right, Phil, your question.
Dentist. Yes. My question. Nick, you're a musical man, and as such, continuously creating and generating tunes, ditties, and dare I even say songs, from time to time. But what is the weirdest, quirkiest thing that has inspired you to write something? Maybe a dinner bell was rung. Maybe an odd mating call from a faraway animal gave you a tune that wouldn't loosen its grip on you. Maybe the clinking of your morning cereal bowl rang something inside of you. What was it?
You just described exactly what happened. No, so I'm going to give you something that inspired a song lyrically.
Okay.
I used to live in Anthem, Arizona, as you know, and we moved there when it was basically nothing. It was our house, a bunch of dirt, and a Safeway. That's it.
Thank God for that Safeway.
Oh, well, that's where the lyric comes in. So Safeway was like the only grocery store around for miles and miles and miles, right? Because Anthem was in like the middle of nowhere when it was first built. There were honestly only a few, compared to what it is now, so few houses there when I moved in. Safeway knew it was the only thing around for God knows how many miles. So what did they do? Skyrocketed the price.
Yeah, they hiked the price.
Exactly. And it was like that for at least a few years. And then as Anthem started getting a little more recognized, more people started moving in, a Fry's was built in Anthem, just a couple miles away from the Safeway. And Fry's came in and said, hey, here's the actual prices things should be. And Safeway was like, we've just been kidding the past few years. And tried pulling down their price. And so everyone was like, and said, yeah, no, we're not going with you anymore, Safeway. We're all going to go to Fry's and give them our business. And so Safeway completely closed down within 6 months. No, it was barren. Everyone hated them. And so I wrote a song about that. And it's called The Tale of Sam and Fred. I didn't want to use the actual names of the things,
right,
but
of course. Yeah, they all went entire Anthem side story, snapping their way to the Fry's across the street.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nick, what is or was your quarter life crisis?
Ooh. That's a good question. I can only limit it to one. Yeah. Okay. No. Oh,
I wouldn't want to shackle you if you want to just.
If you want to burden yourself, join the powwow.
I mean, this is a powwow. We would like you to.
It's a judgment-free zone.
I'm going to get real deep here.
Please.
But I think the thing that was on my mind, especially when I hit 25, going up to 28, which I am now, is the realization that my parents aren't going to last forever. You know what I mean? I see them getting older, and they still obviously they're full of life and everything, and there's no way they're going anywhere anytime soon. But it's slowly realizing that they don't look the same as they did when I was 10 years old, and just kind of trying to get as much time in with them as I can before the inevitable. I think that was the crisis I was going through for at least a few years, and it was difficult. But
yeah.
But sorry to to bring that down there.
No.
But
We ask for honesty, whether that be Safeway or your parents.
yeah.
That is a very genuine answer. We can always appreciate that here on Powwow Podcast. So
That's right.
let's lighten the mood back up again, though. We're going to play a game. We're going to have a little bit of fun.
All right.
Phil, why don't you take us through the game that you prepared for us?
Sure. The game is going to be called Connective Thread. And why it's called that is that me and David each, whenever we host the game, will be giving the other two a genre, a loose genre, think Jeopardy. And then we will start giving
I
items.
literally told you not to use the word genre when you're describing this. It's got nothing to do with genre. It's got nothing to do with genre.
It has
Categories.
flavors, categories, whatever you want to. Anyways, we will be giving you a light category upon which the items to follow, the items listed that each of us have prepared, all fit in. Now, there could be multiple things that these things all fit in. It's really just looking towards specifically what the person intended them to be. So there can be more than one, but normally we're looking for just one very specific thing. If you go ahead and guess, buzz in your name as your buzzer, and you guess incorrectly, you are out for that round. It is possible that both contestants could buzz in and be incorrect. At that point, we do have a tiebreaker. Of course, David also has a skipping stone. And I think that is all I really need to say. Let's go to you, Nick. Who would you care to face off against first?
Ooh. Let's go with you, Philip.
Me. Okay,
All right,
David.
so it'll be my game first.
Yes.
I will start out with the first category, movies. Here we go.
Excellent.
All right.
Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis, Ken Jeong, Bradley
Philip.
Cooper, Philip.
Cast of The Hangover.
It is indeed The
Okay.
Hangover. Well, I was just
Okay.
looking for The Hangover, but I'll give
Okay.
it to you.
Okay.
I'll
that
give it
sounds
to
good.
you.
Man, I was ready to do it after the second one, and I was like, Hangover's too easy.
Yeah,
There's
too
something
easy.
else,
Too easy.
Ah.
right?
It was, but I felt secure in Dr. Jung.
Fair enough.
I bluffed your bluff, I guess, or I
You
don't know, I
did.
bluffed my own bluff. All right, so second question. This category is sports. Here we go. Pads, helmets, violence.
Philip,
Nick?
Oh,
Ooh.
I heard Philip.
I'm going to guess things found in football. American
No.
football.
No,
Okay.
incorrect. I will continue. Sticks.
Ooh. Oh, Nick.
Yes.
Things found in hockey.
Yes, ice hockey is correct. Ice
Yes.
hockey is correct. Point to Nick.
Thank
We're
you.
tied up at one
Tied.
each. All right. We're back to the category of movies.
Okay.
Chris Evans, Jamie Lee Curtis, Christopher Plummer, Frank Oz, Lakeith Stanfield, Daniel
Philip.
Craig.
Philip.
Philip. I was about to say Daniel Craig.
Oh.
Knives Out.
Knives Out is correct. Coming up was the greatest of all, Ana de Armas.
Ah, yes. See.
My love.
It was the Jamie Lee Curtis for me because what is she in that's not Halloween? Because Chris Evans was for sure not in Halloween, surely, right? And there we go.
You know what threw me off when I was looking at it was Frank Oz. What did Frank Oz do in that movie? I don't even know.
I remember, but I don't remember. If that
Okay,
makes any
well,
sense.
It's so good having you on the podcast, Nick. We
Yeah, that
really
was-
appreciate your expertise coming on
Thank
here.
you.
Okay, so the
Resourcefulness.
score is 2-1 to Phil.
Yes.
Let's move on to question 4. The category is songs.
Okay.
Funky, claps, left, back, hop.
Nick,
Nick,
the cha-cha slide.
the cha-cha slide.
Yes.
Well done.
Wow.
Next up, you were going to get stump, and cha-cha. Well done. Good one. Very,
Nicely
very
done,
good one.
Nick. I was lost.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
that means we're tied up going into the last one.
I wish you
I
nothing
hope
but the
you
worst,
guys
Nick.
have seen it because this
Thank
is
you.
we're back on movies. How
Okay.
could I not? How could I not do a lot of movies here?
Of course.
Yeah, Phil, you've dominated the movies so far.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Here we go. This might be tough.
Okay.
Oscar Isaac, Alicia Vikander, Domhnall Gleeson.
Is that it?
Yep.
Oh
Well,
my god.
I mean, that's pretty much it.
One more time. Oscar Isaac. Who else?
Oscar Isaac, Alicia Vikander, and Domhnall Gleeson.
It would help if I knew if I could match the name to a face on the last two.
All right. Oscar Isaac plays Poe Dameron.
No, I know.
in Star Wars, right?
Got him.
Alicia Vikander played Lara Croft in the new Lara Croft movies, the Tomb Raider movies, the recent one.
Yes.
And Domhnall Gleeson plays the admiral guy from the Star Wars sequels. He's got red hair. He's in the movie About Time as well.
Yes. Redhead.
Yes.
I don't know it. Nick, do you know it? We do have a tiebreaker available to us.
Okay, I do not know it.
Yeah,
Come on, guys.
I'm
I'll go
sorry.
fill up Peter Rabbit, the sequel.
No, this is an Academy Award winning film.
It's beyond me.
Oh wow. Okay, do you have any guess, Nick? It won for best special effects, beating out a bunch of films with a much higher budget. But all right, you don't know. You clearly don't know. The movie is Ex Machina.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't have gotten that. I wouldn't have gotten
Not seen it?
No, I haven't seen it. I know
Thought that was a
that's-
risk with this one.
It was.
I forgot about the last guy. Honestly.
You've seen it, Phil?
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It's back in
Really
the memory
great
banks.
film. It
Yes.
really is a really good film. All right. Well, the
Hated
score is
the
2-2. I guess we have to go to the tiebreaker.
Let's
And,
go to the death.
The tiebreaker is how many Best Picture winners have I seen in my life? Now, let me be clear. I was born in the 90s, and I have never set out on a quest to watch all of them or anything like that. So, with that in mind,
What was the current Academy Awards? Was it the 70s?
there are 94 Best Picture winners.
available. Okay.
So
and who
94
scored? Nick scored the
available.
last point. So Nick, you have
Yes,
to
he
go
did.
first.
So you are going to be guessing first how many of the 94 Best Picture winners since 1930 whatever or 20 whatever have I seen?
I'm going to say 15.
That's a good number. That is a damn good number. Because I have to think, so if we're looking at it, I'm thinking Shawshank Redemption, stuff like that. Forrest Gump, of course, he's seen. He's already seen CODA, I know for sure. So I'm just thinking how many easy ones.
Well, I'm going to help you out there. Phil.
Okay.
Forrest Gump and Shawshank were the same year, and only one of them won the Best
Thank
Picture.
Thank you. But has he seen Shakespeare in Love?
Incorrect. That is incorrect. They were, I believe they were. Wait, let me look it up.
I'm willing to.
I'm pretty
bet.
sure they both won. Oh no! Never mind. You're
Look
right.
at this. Nicholas
Pretty sure
Day
you're right.
coming in here and slapping us around with his Oscar knowledge. 15. That
Yeah.
actually makes me. You know what? I'm going to have faith in David Hoffman and feel like he went on a binge at some point. I'm going to go with 16.
The number is 27. Give me a little credit. God.
Oh,
Yes.
Golly, 15. Come on.
I'm sorry.
I've seen quite a few. I saw several of the older ones, like All About Eve, Gone with the Wind.
Oh,
I
All
saw
About
them while I was
Eve.
studying acting.
Yes.
All About Eve, Gone with the Wind. Wings is the first ever film to win Best Picture. There's others like On the Waterfront, Marlon Brando.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Films like that. Yeah.
Stella!
The Best Years of Our Lives. What are some of the other old ones? It Happened One Night, Clark Gable.
Casablanca.
Oh,
like-
man.
No, I actually never seen Casablanca, and I've also never seen Schindler's List. That's one of the recent ones. And then obviously, like the last few years, I've seen most of them. But yeah, so there you go, 27 out of the 94, and I do aim to see many more in the future. All right, well, congrats, Phil. You take the win there. Let's move on to your game.
Let's, in glory, move along to my game. The first, what did you want me to say? Category. There we go. The first category we will be competing against between you two will be music. Music is the first one. And keep in mind, David, you do have a skipping stone with which to skip
I do.
any category in this field. So keep that in
Okay.
mind. First one is music. I'm going to try and give Nick a home field advantage right off the top. All right. Here we go.
Okay.
Tina Turner, Sting, Madonna, Paul McCartney, Phil Collins, Elton John, David Bowie,
Nick.
Nick.
Stage names? People who have stage names instead of their real name?
Unfortunately, that is incorrect. David, we are still with you.
Okay.
The names aforementioned. Here we go. Queen, Bob Dylan, Rick Springfield, Eric Clapton, Elvis
David.
Costello. Yes.
Is it Grammy winning music artists?
It is not. What we were looking for was artists who performed at Live Aid 1985.
That was another thing that briefly popped into my head. Was these like all like performers at a certain show or something? I didn't even think of Live Aid.
Man.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing I was like, is it like artists who started out in the 70s?
Yeah. Well, no point awarded, but we still have more to go here, guys. The next category is history. History. John Jay, John Marshall, Roger Sherman, Benjamin Rush, George Mason, John Dickinson, James Monroe, Samuel
David.
Adams, David.
Are these signers of the Declaration of Independence? Oh no.
You know what? I'll give it to you. We were looking for founding fathers, but same coin, different side. So,
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So David gets
Well done.
probably
David
find
gets-
that all those names are at the bottom of the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, I, as I'm sure. So same coin, different side. All right, next one. The next category here. This one has Nick Davies written all over it.
Oh,
Science.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Let's do this.
Barachios. Not sure if that's what it is. Bayou. Billabong. Puddle. Canal.
Nick.
David. Oh,
Nick. I heard Nick first.
Bodies of water.
No, that's
And that
what I
is
was gonna
exactly
say.
what it
Ah,
is.
I'm so mad.
As I said before, it's science. It's Nick's category. Oh man, here we go. Next one. Remember, David, you still have a skipping stone, which you don't have to use. I never want you to feel like you missed out. All right. I don't think you'll use it on this next one though, because the category is Hollywood.
Mm.
And at a tied score of 1-1, we go to this new category. Richard Dixon, Andy Beckwith, Joseph Altine, Amanda Seyfried, Eddie Redmayne, Helena Bonham
Nick.
Carter, Nick.
Les Miserables.
Yes. I was just going for the cast of Les Miserables, but yes, it is indeed the cast of Les Miserables, the filmed adaptation. Later on, we would have gotten to Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe, and Hathaway, certainly. But Nick had a decided 2-1 advantage going to the last one. David needs this in order to tie and force the tiebreaker.
David
And
does.
he has a skipping stone. Least I forget. Here we go.
Lest you forget.
Lest I forget. Least I forget. In case I forget. Last category, potentially, food. Food is the category.
Okay. I've learned a lot more about food over COVID.
When you start saying the things, can I still skip before someone's buzzed
Yes,
in?
you can certainly skip
Okay,
as
good.
long as there was not a name put in. So here we go.
Yes.
Breakfast roll. Cheese. Cuban. Dynamite. French dip. Gerber.
Skip.
Skip. What we were looking for, any guesses, gentlemen?
So at first I thought sandwich, and then you said something about dip, and I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
You would have been correct. We were looking for types of sandwiches. Apparently, there's a French dip sandwich, David.
What the heck?
According to the internet, I saw a picture of a French dip sandwich.
Because when
It
you
looked
said
absolutely
Cuban, I was
disgusting.
like, oh, sandwich.
Of course.
And then you said dip, and I was like, oh.
Gerber sandwich? Anybody?
No. Well, rats.
Yes. Okay. Thankfully, we move on to the last category. No skipping left. Here we go. The category is miscellaneous.
Oh,
So
I'm
truly
sorry.
right.
Okay, go on.
You'll see why.
Piece of
I'll ask you for your category name if for this one. It has a specific name, but I don't know where I would place it. Here we go.
Okay.
People. The Titanic. Shoes. Donuts. Golf course. DVD. Macaroni. A bagel. A ring. Clothes. A button. One more time. People. The Titanic. shoes, donuts, a golf course, DVD, macaroni, a bagel, a ring, clothes, and a button. I could go on, but I don't think it'll help. So I'll give you guys a countdown.
No, do it one more time.
One more time. Okay. People, the Titanic, shoes, donuts, golf course, DVD, macaroni, bagel, a ring, clothes, and a button. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Any guesses at all, gentlemen? Anybody?
I think Titanic is throwing me off.
Yeah.
It's all throwing me off.
All right, here we. David, do you have?
I'll just say, I don't know, things on the cover of Best Picture winning posters or something. I don't know.
That is incorrect. Nick, anything for you?
That was a good guess. That was pretty good. People, the Titanic.
There were a couple of things that I
bagel.
thought could, like the ring could be Lord of the, like Return of the King, and the Titanic would be Titanic, obviously. The golf course, I don't know, maybe there's something from early 2000s.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
There were a couple other things in there.
I was thinking maybe things found at a putt golf or something.
There we go. You know what? Not a bad guess, but not what we were looking for. What we were looking for, gentlemen, things with a hole in them.
Oh my God.
Oh my good God.
People, the Titanic, shoes, donuts, golf course, DVD, macaroni, bagel, a ring, clothes, button. Unfortunately, neither of you got it. And where would you have categorized that, David, other than miscellaneous? That's what I thought. Moving on to the tiebreaker. As the frustration seeps out of David.
There's no
Hoffman's
tiebreaker necessary. I lost. It's 2-1.
Oh, that's correct. You're right. Would you guys like to play the tiebreaker just for funsies?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Hoffman. No.
No, it's fine. Just do it. You've
fine?
already teased it.
How about
Fucking do
this? How about
Okay.
this? How about this? If I don't get it right, then he wins.
All right.
We'll make this interesting.
How
we'll make
this
this interesting.
is interesting. Okay, as
Now
long as
he's
it's interesting. Now it's content. Now it's not just film.
Now it's yes. Hoffman, you have to go first on this. How much did Live Aid raise for famine in Africa in US dollars? You go first with an amount.
All right, what was it, 1989 or something? Or thinking television rights, is it like $30 million?
$30 million. Nick, we go to you.
I was gonna say, and might be way off because I have no clue.
I mean, mine might be as well. I've got no idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 150 million.
Live Aid did occur in 1985. However, at the time, it did raise a record-breaking $127 million, meaning that Nick, with the whoppingly more close $150
Whoppingly
bid.
more close.
Yes, this is where we are now because he decided to go big. And here we go, 127 millions. Nick won both showcases, both the regular game and the tiebreaker. Congratulations, Nick.
Thank you.
As your prize, you get to tout. Where can the fine people see your shows, go to your shows, find out information about your shows, talk a little bit about yourself?
So I am shockingly horrible at social media. But that being said, my Facebook page, Nick Davies, I update it semi-regularly. I update my regular personal Facebook page more often. But I'm all over the place right now. I'm doing a bunch of tributes, Billy Joel and Elton John tributes, ABBA, Frankie Valli, you name it. And in terms of music, currently finishing up my first full album, which will be released, yes, on everything, Spotify and iTunes, Apple Music, blah, blah, blah. TikTok, hopefully. Maybe I'll see my own songs in people's videos.
And let's get that handle for you. What's your handles? Where can the people find you?
I have no clue. That's what I said. I am shockingly horrible at social media. Just search Nicholas Davies. You'll find a wakeboarder first, but I'm on there somewhere. Just
Nicholas Davies, Nickolas, as Nicholas, and then Davies, Davies for Facebook.
That's
As
the one.
we have heard, he updates it regularly. He has great content. Got a lot of people on an April Fool's joke recently. I could not believe that people. You could always tell in the comments the people that actually clicked on your link, Nick, and the people who just read it and were just so gosh darn supportive. God bless them. God bless them.
I was very happy about that. I was
Yes.
very proud of it.
Yes, but they were happy for you as well. You have to find out and go to his socials in order to figure out what it is we're talking about.
That's
Nick,
right.
thank you so much for joining us. Always appreciate your time. Always appreciate your dentist stories. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. It's so good to see you guys.
Yeah, cheers, Nick.
We'll see you soon.
All right. See you later.
And with that win, I move up to a sterlingly mediocre record of 4-4, while David, with that loss, plummets to 4-4 as well. Acha, acha. Ooh, yes, that slaps. Where we bring you the best entertainment of the week that we found, whether that be in the format of a song, movie, or dare we say, TV show, 24 season 1, maybe?
No.
No, never
It's been
that.
a long time since I've seen that.
But, David, what are you bringing to the table of that slaps
Oh,
this
why don't
week?
you go first today, Phil?
Oh, delicious. I will be bringing us a song. The song is called The Night We Met by Lord Huron, Huron. Very good song. And I love it. And I just found it this week. That's really all there needs to be said. That slaps.
Okay. Beautiful. I also I don't know if it was this week or last week, but call it what it is. The song is by Sir Sly. I know you and I both like Sir Sly.
Yes.
And it is Doomsday. Doomsday, spelt with a lowercase d, and then the O's in Doom are zeros. You know, I do have a problem with this. When artists do this to their songs, they don't capitalize letters, or they make the turn letters into numbers. Are you making the listening experience any better? No. So why are you overcomplicating this? All it means is that when I ask Alexa to play it for me, she's like, playing 00 Doomsday for you. And I'm like, it's called Doomsday. Gosh, but it does slap. It does slap.
The listening experience slaps. The reading experience is atrocious.
It slaps despite the reading experience. Well, of course, we want to thank you all for joining us on this episode. But before we let you go, we just want to shout out a couple of our favorite people out there. First of all, Cass and Crossland, thank you so much for the music that you've produced for this show. And to Jake Corlang for some of plenty of the background sounds that you hear throughout the podcast. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much to Tara Amstutz and Josh Hans for their wonderful contributions to the show. Could not do it without you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We really appreciate what you do.
And of course, once again, thank you to you, the listener, for tuning in this week and enjoying. We hope you enjoyed CODA. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's well worth a watch. And of course, reach out to your friends, spread the word about Powwow Podcast. We think we've got a lot of fun things to say. And you can find us on Instagram at powwow_podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere where you can find podcasts, with the exception of Pandora, because screw you, Pandora.
You know why God made farts smell? So bears could enjoy them too.